Hey, welcome back. This is part 2 of this cabinet restoration. It's an old oak cabinet that I got from a friend of mine who said it was in his dad's house that was flooded up in New Jersey. So if you haven't seen part 1, if you'll link back to my channel, it's on there and you might want to watch that first. But if not, welcome, and I'll catch you up. So completely disassembled the entire cabinet. Have rebuilt it, and this video is going to focus on just getting it ready for finish and the finishing process. So always pre-drill hardwood. I didn't have any vintage or antique nails the proper size, so I just took these coated sinkers you get from the home center that have that kind of patterned head on them, and I just ground them down and then just grinded that texture off of it and then just blued the head to make it look kind of vintage or antique-y. So I'm going to get these put in. I'm just going right back in the old holes. One thing I noticed is that the cabinet appeared to be missing a piece of trim down here. So I have a piece of thin stock oak that I've cut to fit in here. And then I've got a piece of, I found a piece of egg and dart trim, cut a piece and just see how it looks. Then I'm going to turn the cabinet over and put the drawer in and just get an idea if I like it or not. Alright, so this kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to look like. I don't think that looks too bad. So I've purchased a portable blaster from Harbor Freight and some walnut shells. So I'm going to give that a try, blasting this, these two pieces and this piece. So let's give it a shot and see what happens. Alright, so what I think of the Harbor Freight Central Pneumatic portable blaster kit with walnut shells in it, it did a pretty good job. I can't complain. It got the wood pretty clean. It got all the paint out. There's a few little pieces that I'll have to pick out with the dental tool just because I didn't want to keep blasting and tear the wood up. But you know, it didn't really do a lot of damage or really any damage to the wood. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It just makes a huge mess. And the reason why I went with walnut shells, 1 is to protect the wood, and 2, it's just a lot easier to clean up than all that sand. Anyway, back to it. Alright, for those of you paying a lot of attention to the video, you would have seen this mistake a while ago. Unfortunately, I did not. So you saw me put this on. I had these pieces dry fitted on here, and I was trying to fit these pieces that I just cleaned up with the walnut blasting, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out why the nail holes wouldn't line up. So I went inside, had some lunch, and took a break, and reviewed the footage and realized that these go at the top. But of course you saw earlier where I had already glued and nailed these pieces in. So I had to work to get these off. Use my heat gun and heated it up. These are actually the feet. So these go here like this. This piece goes in here, and then this goes at the top. I'm very lucky I was able to get these off with minimal damage. So I got lucky, but that's what happens when you get in a rush and don't pay attention. Let's see if I can get this thing fitted back in here. Alright, so that's all the trim pieces put back on. I'm going to let this dry overnight. I put 2 coats of regular clear shellac on this yesterday, let it dry overnight. I'm sanding with 220 just to, because the shellac kind of raised the grain a little bit. I'm going to get it smooth and probably put 2 more coats on today, and then we'll be ready for finishing process. Alright, I'm on the final steps of working on the case before I start putting finish on it. So I'm going to clean up the last of the glue. I am going to go ahead and sand it to 220 because of the finishing process, which I'll explain before I start putting finish on. So I want the grain a little bit tighter than it is at 180. So if I sand it with a finer grit, the stain doesn't penetrate as deep. So anyway, I'm going to work on that. I got some holes to putty in, and then we'll come back right before finishing. I'm finally ready to start finishing, putting finish and color and everything on the drawer fronts and the rest of the cabinet. So I ended up getting, I think, 3 coats of shellac on the drawer interiors after I sanded them. And for the rest of the cabinet, I'm going to start with a dye stain. So this was a mix I made up of 16 ounces of denatured alcohol and 3 teaspoons of trans tint dye, and I'm using dark vintage maple. And the idea is I want to kind of get this on as a background color. So once I apply it, I'll let it dry and then I'll sand it. And that way I'm hoping to reveal any of the figuring in here and leave this color stain in the background, and then we'll move on from there. So first step is going to be to get each piece wiped down with a tack cloth real good. Make sure I get all of the little sanding dust and everything, just shop dust out of here. I'm going to attempt to pour this without making a huge mess. We got some nice dark figuring here on this side. And I'll show you right in this area. I've got some really good figurines, so let's see what that looks like. Hopefully that camera's showing that light color popping out. That's what I'm looking for. Now it looks extra good now because it's wet, and like I said, with alcohol this evaporates very quickly, so this will dull out. This is a pleasant surprise. I did not see all that. The next step in my finishing process is to give this a light sand with 220. Not sure if the camera's once again picking up the figurine, but the idea here is we've got the dye stain on. Even though I used alcohol as the mix, it did raise the green just a little bit. But I want to give it a light sand, and the hope is to be able to lighten up the figurine a little bit, leaving most of the color down in the green. Okay, I decided that I don't need to put another coat of stain on here. I'm pretty happy with the color on it. It's doing a good job of highlighting the rays and the figurine here. So wiped everything down with a tap cloth after I blew it off with the air hose. I've got some de-waxed shellac that will go on next to seal in everything I've done this far. Oh, look at that popping. There, now you can see that figure a little better. Isn't that cool? And I'll just keep playing with this until I get a color I'm happy with. And that's pretty close. First shot. Need to add a little bit of darkness to that one. I'll go ahead and get a base coat here. This is the area here where I had to use the filler piece of wood and then some wood filler, so I definitely want to get some color on that and get it to blend in a little better. That's actually not bad. I think I'll go with this. I've got an old can of American oak that's almost empty. And then this is some antique walnut that I've probably added colors to 3 different times. There's not much left in here, so I'm just going to darken up this antique oak just a little bit. In the past, when I'm doing the mission oak finished, I would actually, after that last coat of shellac, I would put on a glaze coat, and usually I just use a gel stain for that, but you could use a glaze for it. The glaze are water-based, I think, and the gel stain's oil-based, and I'm going to top coat with an oil-based finish, so for me it's better just to use the gel stain. Anyway, I am going to use General Finishes Armor Seal. It's a oil-based polyurethane instead of more of a traditional antique varnish or shellac finish. I really like that finish. I like the color it gives, and it's just so easy to work with. So that's what I'll be doing. So I'm going to get these wiped down real good with steel wool to get the last few dust nibs out, and we'll get to finishing. I mentioned it earlier, the reason why I'm skipping the glaze coat is because the idea behind that is to get more dark color down into the grain. And because this wood was already pretty dark, just from the age and what it's been through, I didn't really see the need to do it, to make the figurine grain pop more. In the right light, it's plenty, and it looks really good. There we go. All right, stay tuned for the final reveal. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. This old oak cabinet was a lot of fun to restore. It's made out of solid quarter sawn oak. It's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of wood. But I didn't know what this was. I called it a mystery cabinet, but after part 1, I had a really nice viewer comment and say that they felt like it was a cylinder phonograph storage cabinet. Very believable. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I appreciate you following along. And for those of you that are subscribed to my channel, I really do appreciate that as well. You're helping my channel grow. So let me bring you in closer and show you some details. Oh, and I'm going to have the customer come see this, and I'm going to film their reaction. So hopefully we'll get a good one. Here's a pretty good view of how I was able to get some of this figurine to pop. I hope the lighting is showing this okay. And the drawers, this is what the interior of the drawers ended up looking like. Let me get the light in there. So really made it nice and usable, and you can see some of the figurine here. Let me see if I can get this turned in the light correctly. This shows you some of the beauty of this wood. Again, even the panels were quarter sawn oak out of one piece of lumber. And the figurine here just really came through for me. You can see some here, and it's in the drawers, but the lighting in here just isn't that good, so it's kind of hard to tell. But you can see we got all the trim pieces cleaned up really nice, and on this side you can see some of the details as well. Just an absolute gorgeous piece of wood. Check it out. Holy shit! Oh, that
is awesome. That is incredible. Wow, where'd you get the hardware? Oh my God.
Doesn't that look cool?
That really is amazing, dude. That really is.
I'll tell you now, but I've been filming this because I wanted to film your reaction. But I won't put it on YouTube if you don't want me to.
No.